From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Happy Friday and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham in Chicago in the aftermath of Vice President Kamala Harris's coming out party. Over the next few minutes, we'll get you the latest from inside the convention center as well as other stories. But first, a look at the latest headlines. India's Prime Minister meets Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. Prime Minister Modi says that India is now ready to find a solution to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. An Israeli airstrike kills over 40 Palestinians in central Gaza. This as the United States accuses both Israel and Hamas of not giving their full commitment to the ceasefire deal. Taiwan jails 8 soldiers on charges of spying on behalf of China. A Taipei court finds the soldiers received $21,000 to join a Beijing-administered spy network, which included plans of defecting to China using a helicopter. Thailand confirms Asia's first case of the new and deadlier strain of Mpox. The case has been reported in a patient who landed in Bangkok on a direct flight from Africa. And Venezuela's Supreme Court completes its counting of ballots and declares Nicolas Maduro as the winner of the July 28th presidential election. Maduro calls the ruling a historic win for the South American nation.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse.
We begin in the United States, where Vice President Kamala Harris has formally accepted the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. The historic achievement came on the fourth and final night of the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago. The vice president becomes the first woman of color to lead a presidential ticket for either of the two major political parties and could even become the first woman elected to the highest office in the land. Now, speaking on the final night of the Democratic Convention, Vice President Harris said she would be a president for all Americans.
And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight. And I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations. A president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people.
The Democratic presidential candidate then turned her sights on political rival Donald Trump and his views on abortion rights.
And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, They are out of their minds. And one must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
The one-time U.S. Senator also spoke on issues like immigration and the economy, both of which remain among the biggest concerns for American voters. Harris says she would cut taxes for the hard-working middle class and promised to reform the U.S. immigration system.
He intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year. Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
Harris then concluded the night with a call to end the war in Gaza, but added she would stand up for Israel's security.
With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock, because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Now, the energy and enthusiasm among Democrats has been palpable all throughout the convention center, but a new poll conducted by Navigate Research shows that the vice president still has some catching up to do in two key battleground states. Donald Trump enjoys a narrow lead over Kamala Harris in both Arizona and Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, the two presidential candidates remain tied in Michigan, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. The Navigate Research survey, however, did highlight some key factors in favor of the Democrat. The poll surveyed over 6,000 Americans in key battleground states and showed that Kamala Harris enjoys overwhelming support from women compared to men in general, as well as among black and Hispanic voters, while Donald Trump maintains an edge among white men. Now, since launching her campaign in July, Kamala Harris has been marginally ahead of Donald Trump in national polls, with almost every poll aggregator showing her in the lead. Now, when the dust settles, pollsters and data analysts will be watching very closely to see if the Harris-Walz campaign gained the traditional bump in the polls post-convention. That same political bump eluded the Trump-Vance campaign, however. Now the race becomes a sprint as Trump continues to find a way to blunt the Harris momentum with less than 75 days until voters head to the polls. And staying in the United States, a luxury apartment building in Miami, Florida, was put under a security lockdown earlier this week. Residents in the tower received a cryptic message on their mobile phones from the building management and the police, telling them to stay away from the windows in their apartments. The message also warned the residents to stay indoors because a suspicious object had been located in the building. Now, this apartment tower in Miami is no ordinary building. In fact, it's a high-rise in Miami's upscale Hollandale Beach complex and is about a 10-minute walk from the iconic Hollywood Beach. And it's in this very same building where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's son, Yair Netanyahu, has been living since mid-January of this year. Last night, Israeli media was the first to report of the lockdown of the apartment building. However, reports say that Yair was not in the tower when the lockdown happened and only returned to his upscale condo the next morning. Israeli media also interacted with residents and reported that the building's messaging groups were filled with rumors about a bomb threat. Some residents also reported that an unknown person had pulled a fire alarm a few hours before the suspicious package was found by building management, which was then handed over to Miami police. The luxury building is home to several other influential Israelis, including Netanyahu's eldest son. Now, speaking to Israeli media, residents said that Netanyahu looked worried and afraid when he returned to the building a day after the lockdown. Now, it must be noted that this comes at a time when Israel is being threatened by Iran and its proxies over the death of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Tehran said that it will exact revenge from Israel and its Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The question remains whether it will go so far as to target Prime Minister Netanyahu's family, particularly his eldest son, who is also residing in the United States. In Central America, Panama's President Jose Mulino has made a bold move to tackle the country's role as a major migrant transit point. In a recent announcement, he unveiled plans for a series of deportation flights that will take migrants to Ecuador, India, and China. His announcement comes at a critical time, with the U.S. elections approaching and immigration becoming a hot-button issue. The deportation flights, which are financed by Washington, reflects America's interest in controlling illegal migration. Now, under an agreement jointly signed by Panama and the United States, Washington has committed to provide Panama City with at least $6 million for equipment, transportation, and logistics to remove foreign nationals who do not have a legal basis to remain in Panama.
On
July 1st, the government of President Mulino signed in Mao with the United States to support and provide help in issues of migration and national safety. We hope we can regularize paperwork workflows of migrants as we move forward.
The initiative started earlier this week when a flight carrying at least 29 Colombian migrants were sent back. Mulino disclosed that flights to Ecuador are scheduled for August 29th, flights to Colombia for August 30th, and those to India for September 3rd. However, the exact dates and numbers of flights to China remain unspecified.
We are working with Colombia in the deportation process that is taking place. We are coordinating with other nationalities, for example with Ecuador. We are also approaching India. The issue of Venezuela has a particular uniqueness because of the diplomatic relations. Now we are prevented from making any kind of movement to Venezuela.
The Darien Gap, a perilous jungle connecting Colombia to Panama, has long been a dangerous hurdle for migrants making their way to the United States. So far this year, more than 520,000 people have entered Panama through the Darien. This marks a 30% increase in crossings compared to the same period from January to August of last year. Officials also estimate that the vast majority of these migrants come from Venezuela. But since Panama and Venezuela have hit a roadblock in their dwindling relationship, Panama has been unable to deport Venezuelan migrants.
Progressively, we will do what is necessary to contain the flow of migrants through the jungle. But I'm encouraged to see that we've started the agreement with the United States has begun.
Now, as the U.S. presidential election looms, this latest development underscores the intensifying focus on migration and the complex efforts that are needed to manage the influx. And now in Yemen, where arms dealers are brazenly trading weapons on Elon Musk's social media platform X. Verified Yemeni and Houthi accounts are selling rifles, handguns, and grenade launchers for as much as $900. How deep is this social media arms market, and how are the Iran-backed Houthis actually controlling it? Here's our report with more.
In a startling revelation, arms dealers linked to Iranian-backed militants are openly trading weapons on the social media platform X. The dealers based in Houthi-controlled Yemen are using social media to buy and sell rifles, handguns, and even grenade launchers. These hundreds of dollars of transactions are taking place in plain sight, with some dealers boasting verified blue ticks on their profiles, adding a disturbing layer of legitimacy to their activities. Many of these arms dealers operate out of Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, which is under the control of the Houthis, a group designated as a global terrorist organization by the United States. Their profiles flaunt the Houthi slogan, a chilling message that reads, "God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, a curse on the Jews, and victory to Islam." This slogan is often featured alongside images of assault rifles and other deadly weapons, turning X into a virtual arms market. The implications for Elon Musk's platform are severe. Selling weapons violates X's terms of service, and the platform's failure to curb this trade could mean it has broken US law. American companies are strictly prohibited from facilitating transactions with terrorist organizations, and the penalties are harsh, ranging from hefty fines to being cut off from the US financial system. Shockingly, some of these accounts have been active for years, long before Musk's purchase of Twitter, now X, in 2022. However, experts believe the problem has escalated under Musk's ownership. Edmund Fitton Brown, a former British ambassador to Yemen, bluntly stated, "This is clear material support for terrorism. X has a lamentable history of failing to police itself properly against extremists." To sell their wide range of weapons, the arms dealers often direct potential buyers to encrypted messaging services like Telegram and WhatsApp, or to monetization platforms like Patreon, where transactions are completed using cryptocurrency. While some platforms have taken steps to shut down these accounts, the problem persists. As X remains silent on the issue, the world watches closely. The consequences for Musk's platform could be dire, with potential legal actions and sanctions looming on the horizon.
And finally, the Great Wall of China is embracing modern convenience with the introduction of drone delivery services. Tourists visiting the Great Wall can now order food and essentials via their phones and get it delivered by drones. This initiative highlights China's expanding drone industry while adding a futuristic twist to the historic site. Our final story gets you all the details.
The Great Wall of China. A marvel of human engineering that's been standing tall for centuries, attracting millions of tourists who flock to experience its grandeur. And really, why wouldn't they? It's one of the world's 7 wonders, a feat of ancient ingenuity that stretches for miles, and leaving visitors in awe of its sheer scale. But let's get real for a moment. The Great Wall might be a feast for the eyes, but it's certainly not one for the stomach. You see, despite all the hype and history, this ancient wonder has one glaring omission. There's not a snack bar in sight. No food stalls, no ice cream stands, not even a single corn dog vendor hawking their wares. And why? Well, it's all in the name of preservation. The powers in nearby Beijing want to keep this architectural marvel pristine, unscathed by greasy fingers and wayward crumbs of extremely hungry tourists. But come on, the wall is a massive 13,171 miles or 21,000 kilometers long to be exact. That's a lot of ground to cover on an empty stomach, especially when hunger strikes mid-hike. Enter the Chinese government's ingenious solution: drone delivery at the Great Wall. Because why not embrace the future while admiring the past? Thanks to the culinary superheroes at Meituan, a food delivery giant, tourists now won't have to brave the bedaling section of the wall with nothing but a growling stomach. Picture this. A drone takes off from a nearby hotel's rooftop, zips over to a watchtower, and voila! Your meal arrives from the sky like a gift from the heavens. The logistics are almost as impressive as the wall itself. So here's how it works. You place an order via an application on your mobile phone. A dedicated worker fetches your package, and another operator attaches it to the drone. The drone, on its predetermined route, flies to the designated watchtower, where you, the hungry tourist, eagerly can collect your airborne meal.
Through drone delivery, we may cover the route that takes 50 minutes on foot in 5 minutes and deliver heat relief items and emergency supplies to visitors. We can also provide emergency supplies to employees and people in need and carry back garbage generated by visitors on the return flights.
But don't get too excited. There are some rules to follow. Orders can only be placed between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. local time. And the drone can carry a maximum of 2 kilograms only. After 4 p.m., these tireless drones switch to waste management duty, ferrying trash to recycling bins. Now you might think this cutting-edge delivery service would come with a sky-high price tag. But surprisingly, the delivery fee is just 56 cents. That's slightly more than $0.50. It's a small price to pay for a unique experience. Not to mention the bragging rights of having your lunch delivered by drone at one of the world's most iconic landmarks. So there you have it, Beijing's first ever drone delivery service at the Great Wall. It's a testament to China's growing dominance in the drone industry, with Meituan leading the charge. After all, this is not their first rodeo. They've been zipping meals through the skies since 2021 in the city of Shenzhen and have racked up over 300,000 orders across multiple cities. But delivering to the Great Wall? That's a whole new level of innovation. So the next time you feel a hunger pang while exploring this ancient wonder, just remember, help is only a drone away. Because why shouldn't history come with a side of convenience?
And that's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in all week here in Chicago. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you right back here next week. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment. So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can you expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
We'll start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.